Hi everybody, I'm Don Dickson and I want to welcome you to another edition of our structure fishing workshop. We've been talking about structure, breaks, and break lines in particular. And this goes back to our very first discussion. I'll say it again, I've said it a million times, I'll say it one more time. Most all water has no fish most of the time. So if you're just out there blindly fishing, just throwing lures into water, you're just gonna hardly ever be successful. We have to pinpoint our fishing. But fortunately for you and me, the way fish utilize breaks and break lines allows us to be able to go and arrive at the same spot where they are. And as I said, most all water contains no fish most all the time. So if we can find the exact spots where the fish are, we're going to be successful. 99% of the time, we're catching fish. We're not playing. So having that ability, first having the knowledge, but then having the ability to locate these areas, that's the real separation point to the real structure fisherman, to the advanced guy or gal who's catching fish every time out, to the one who just says that they're fishing structure. We need to locate the exact spots, and fortunately the fish do it for us. So we're going to finish this discussion with this. It's pretty simple. Most every fish you ever catch is going to be located at a break, some form of a break on a break line. That's just the facts. That's how it is. Most every fish you catch is going to be at a break on a break line. And the reason that's so important, my friends, I go back to one of the initial statements I made to you a year ago. Most all water has no fish most of the time. If you really want to be successful, you've got to pinpoint your fishing. You can't be sloppy. I was out 2 days last week fishing with an old friend. And I'm never amazed. We're in a complete post-spawn time. It's almost getting into summertime activity. We didn't catch a bunch of fish. I think we caught 9 or 10 one day and a few more than that the first day. And no real big fish. They're still a little lethargic from the spawn. But the spawn is long over. It's been over 4 weeks. And we were on 2 different lakes. He wanted to see these local lakes that I live on. One was Lake Harris and one here, Eustis. He wanted to see these local lakes. So I said, okay, I'll run you out there. We'll do a little fishing, which we did. And we saw probably, again, I'm not picking on any individual. I'm just saying how sad it is. We saw probably 25 bass boats in those 2 days. Each and every one of them was zoomed in there, cast into the docks. Now mind you, the spawn's been over for 4 weeks. Fish are out in the deep water slots trying to recover from the spawn. They're still in there throwing to the docks. I saw 3 or 4 boats that were flipping way back in the weeds, and some heavy weeds, some reeds. And we were trolling one break line in the area. We'd caught, I don't know, 4 or 5 fish in this one area. So we had a few markers out. We're out in deep water. And there were 3 bass boats that went around us in a period of about 45 minutes. Went way out around us, very polite. And they were coming in hot, you know, running fast. They ran into what looked to be a point of land where we were fishing close to, but not at the point, because there's no point there. It's just a change in direction of the shallow grass line. That's all it is. In fact, it's rather flat. The hole that we were fishing, the slot, moved out, and that flatter area that looked like a bar was over there. So we know there's no fish over there. And a boat come in, put his trolling motor down, fished around that point of that grass for about 10 minutes, pulled off, raced off about 70 miles an hour somewhere. And about 10 minutes later, here come another big old bass boat, zooming in right to the same exact spot, throws his trolling motor down, moves in and does the same thing. 10 minutes later, off he goes. And about 20 minutes later, we had just caught our 5th fish out on the slot. And I said, let's pick up and move. I want to show you another little area. It's about the same as this, but on another part of the lake. This was over in Lake Harris. And here come another big bass boat. He came in, and when he went around, he slowed up. And we said, man, he's going to go fish that same little point, what looks like the point, which really isn't. Grass line went in there and did the exact same thing. Now, this was in a matter of 45 minutes. Now, how many people do you think, over the course of a day, or a course of a week, or at the course of a 3-day bass tournament, would do exactly what those 3 guys just did in 45 minutes? You know how many lures we went in here to that grass line? And all the fish are out in deep water. I'm telling you, it's sad. And people laugh at me and say, well, you don't have one of them big bass boats, and you're not really in the 21st century. What? Yes, I am. I truly am. But I'm not reverting back to fishing the way my great-grandfather fished. Only difference today is doing it in a $50,000 boat instead of in a John boat. Fishing along the grass. That's it. They're fishing along the dock. That's it. And all the fish are out there. And they better soon get grips to that. They better soon accept that as a fact, because it's a long summer and fall. Those fish aren't coming back into that dock till the next year when they decide to spawn. So I want the bass community to wake up. Making a cast is no big deal. And the bass has no idea what kind of boat you're throwing that cast from either. I can promise you that. He doesn't know, nor does he care. But they act like that's everything. Look how pretty I make out. There's no fish there. They're out there. Learn how to fish structure. Learn how to identify that deep break line, that drop-off break line to the deep water. There's the home of the fish, including in Florida. Been out there for the last 2 days. We've been catching some smaller fish out there. There are no fish left in the shoreline, but yet every bass boat we saw in 2 days was in, throwing to the docks in the shallow grass. There wasn't anybody more than 50 feet away from the shoreline in 2 days. It's sad. It really is. And somebody sent me something the other day, said, man, you're really preaching. I said, I'm trying. I'm just trying to get people to understand. I'm not looking for people to recognize me or say, boy, you smart. No, I'm not. I was smart enough to listen to Buck Perry. He had it all right. He had it right. You're not going to find a school of big bass up under this dock that I'm sitting on right now. They ain't going to be here. Even during the spawn, I only saw 3 beds. The whole school isn't here even during the spawn. They're out there. Now that we know they're out there in deep water, what do? Well, that's what we're talking about. In our early talks, I said, listen, we got to start with this knowledge. Most all that water has no fish in it most all the time. Period. End of story. 90% of that water has no fish in it. So if we go about our fishing just in any kind of random way, just go around, cast anywhere we can find something that looks fishy, you're never going to be successful. Not going to happen. But fortunately for you and me, there are guides that we can put into place that will allow us to be in the areas where the fish are. Not where they're not, but where they are. And 90% of the time where they are is out in deep water. But then we have to pinpoint where in deep water. And we said our real guide is structure. The bottom of the lake that's different in some respects from the surrounding bottom area. Bars, humps, etc., etc., etc. In a modern day structure fisherman, I said you have to have a basic guideline to go about your fishing if you want to be successful. And that basic guideline is we're going to use structure as our guide as to where the fish will be. And then we went on about a year-long study of a bunch of things. But today, that we're concluding this study on breaks and break lines, I want to change that basic guideline. I want to sort of adapt a new way of stating our basic guideline. it should have changed. If you were with me on this now, it should change. It goes something like this. Today's advanced structure fisherman has some basic guidelines that he follows, and that basic guideline goes something like this. We use structure as our guide that's in relationship to deep water. And then we pinpoint our fish by fishing the breaks and the break lines on or connected to that structure. And that's the new description of our basic guideline on how to be successful. We use structure as our guide, and we pinpoint those fish by fishing the breaks and the break lines on or connected to that structure. I hope you were with me on all of that, and I appreciate you being here with me today. So I ask you one more time as we conclude this discussion, if you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to our channel and stay with us as we begin our next study, which is going to be on weather and water conditions and how it affects the movement and migrations of fish. Very important study. Hope you'll be with me. See you the next time.